What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and in continuing my series of Disney movie reviews, I'm here to let you know that the 2011 Winnie the Pooh is no perfect movie. And I'm willing to bet the majority of you watching this have probably never even heard of the 2011 version, let alone seen it. And there is one very specific reason for that. Disney had the intelligent idea to put this movie out the very same weekend as Deathly Hallows Part 2. This movie only needed 75 million in order to break even, but it didn't accomplish that. The movie tanked, and to this day, it's Walt Disney Animation Studios' very last film to be completely hand-drawn. As someone who loves seeing hand-drawn films, especially by Disney, that alone is enough to make it disappointing. And while I can't say this is anywhere on par with the original film, in fact, there are a couple sequels that might be technically better than this one, this might actually be the funniest Winnie the Pooh movie that I've seen in a really long time. It has all the same slapstick you would expect from Pooh trying to find honey and being chased by bees, or Tigger bouncing all over the place, and that stuff's as good as before, but there's more of an emphasis on wordplay and a different set of fourth wall jokes that were a genuine surprise. It's no real secret that the Hundred Acre Wood is full of people who aren't exactly the brightest bunch, and it's easy for them to mix up certain words, but there are other characters like Owl and Rabbit who know more to an extent and try to keep using those words in a situation in order to make sense of everything, but the harder they try, the more oblivious everyone else gets, and it made for some of the best moments and some of the best comedic reactions in the entire movie. There's even some new fourth wall jokes where before the characters start interrupting the narrator, as you would expect from a Winnie the Pooh movie, they come across the certain pages and paragraphs and they're just sitting there wondering, this doesn't really sound like me. I don't think this has any particular use to it. And then later on, as the scene keeps going, the camera will cut to the entire page and what they just spoken, which it was completely on the spot and improvised by the characters, was written down below there the entire time. And it just made for such a clever sight gag. I kind of wish there were a few more jokes like that in other Winnie the Pooh movies, too. And of course, it doesn't hurt that they got really good voice actors who, even when they're celebrities, they fit the characters and their personalities perfectly, especially Jim Cummings as both Pooh and Tigger. He's really good at balancing back and forth how Tigger is so fast-paced and energetic, whereas Pooh is a lot more calm and has a very comforting voice that makes him, even at his worst, seem completely lovable and innocent. And that is exactly what you would expect from a Winnie the Pooh character. They can be self-centered sometimes, they can put other people in harm's way, but whenever they make a mistake, they realize it and they decide to correct their behavior as time goes on. Those are the things that you really want to see in most characters in general, and because these characters in particular are already so nice and sweet, it feels very rewarding to see them learn a lesson, but it's still funny to watch them make a mistake. Craig Ferguson has this unique way of having a superior than thou attitude when he's playing Owl, but he still comes across as being a compassionate person who really just feels as if he's sharing his knowledge with people, not rubbing it in their faces. Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, that just sounds like a perfect replacement for Rabbit, if I'm being completely honest. And Bud Luckey, I hope I said that right. He is a dearly departed Disney animator who also voiced a couple characters in different movies. As I was listening to him play Eeyore, it really reminded me just how morbid the character's sense of humor was, but at the same time, they always get really good actors who understand the deadpan nature of Eeyore's misery that makes you feel for his pain, but at the same time laugh at it just because you really wish this guy would just get a break. And I also thought that John Cleese was a pretty good choice to be the narrator. He still has that deadpan humor to him whenever he's arguing with the characters or they interrupt him, but he still has a much more restrained and soft-spoken charm whenever he's just narrating the scenarios as they play out. I wasn't a big fan of the guy they got to play Piglet. I know he's been playing it for years, but I'm just noticing now that he has a higher pitch than I remember, and because dude is a nervous wreck, when it comes to him screaming and freaking out, it got a little annoying over the course of time. And this is going to sound like a really weird thing to complain about, but I wasn't a big fan of how they rewrote Kanga in this movie. They write her in a way that makes her come across as just she's just as naive and gullible as the other characters. And even if you've seen one Winnie the Pooh thing ever in your life, you know that she's like miles above them. She's the wise mother figure to everybody. And while there are a couple of good stupid jokes centering around her, I still would have liked her to be the mother figure. That was the thing that I always loved and appreciated about her. But keeping up with the positives, the songs, mostly completely original songs, were so charming and so whimsical. I loved listening to them over and over again after I watched the movie, and Zooey Deschanel, who they got to sing the majority of them, also did a really good job too. My favorites in particular are A Very Important Thing to Do. I wish it was a little bit longer because it's not even a minute, but it was a nice little side song, and Everything is Honey, like most people who have seen it had pointed out, was easily the best song. It had the best animation within that sequence, and the sequence itself was so creative and so fluid. It's miles above other Winnie the Pooh movies in terms of animation as well. And it's weird thinking that the people who wrote these songs also wrote Everyone's a Little Bit Racist and Hasadiga Ibawai. If you know either one of those songs, you should feel proud of yourself. And the Baxton song was good too, but it reminded me a lot of the Heffalump song from Pooh's Heffalump movie. It pretty much is the same scenario where they're exaggerating things about an imaginary creature, and that's the one thing about this movie. It features a lot of nods and callbacks to not just the original movie, but just about every movie. There's like a component of every previous theatrical Winnie the Pooh movie anyways, and a couple straight to DVD ones that are in this movie and serve as the central plot. For one, the plot of this movie is awfully similar to Pooh's Grand Adventure. There's a misunderstanding where they think that Christopher Robin has been abducted and they decide to take action and go rescue him. In this movie, it's played up mostly for laughs, and there are a lot of different scenarios that make it not derivative. There's a subplot where Tigger wants to find someone else to become a Tigger alongside him, just like the Tigger movie. And as I said before, the Baxton song is basically ferocious, hazardous heffalumps. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, and it's clear as day that it's trying to pay homage to the other movies as well as the original stories, because if not for those stories, we wouldn't have these movies. And it has the same basic structure and the same messages, and it's not that it's done poorly, but even if you've only seen one Winnie the Pooh thing ever, no matter how long ago it was, you're going to watch this and it's not really going to feel as fresh. And for some people, that might not be a problem because these movies are all about simplicity in regards to the story and messages, but you can't really escape the feeling that it's been done before and done a little bit better. It just made me wonder if there were stories that haven't been adapted yet that I would have liked to have seen. So the Winnie the Pooh of 2011 could have been at least 10 to 20 minutes longer, and you could have put in more original material to fill in that gap, because I genuinely believe they could have done it. It's still got the exact same charming characters and very funny moments and really clever songs that don't necessarily make it a great movie, but it is a good movie. And for all those reasons, I'm going to give the 2011 Winnie the Pooh a 3.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. If by any chance you have seen this one, do let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. What's your favorite Winnie the Pooh movie in general? It doesn't have to be theatrical, it doesn't have to be straight to video. Just let me know down below. Be sure to stay tuned for more Disney reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.